The statue of Justice still sits on top the Guildhall. It's visual evidence of the law court that once operated within that building. But across the high street is an archway that frames the entrance to what was another court, but this time one lived in by people. We know this narrow and colourful lane as Northumberland Place, but it sits on what was, in the 17th century, Merchants' Court, a residential street without through access. In more recent times, this rather hidden echo of Bath's medieval past has been a bustling area, full of cafes, restaurants and independent shops. Well, one of the cafes has been my watering hole for the whole of the 10 years I've lived in Bath. Rosario's is a traditional Italian cafe. It's famous for the crema, well, its coffee, for its homemade cakes, and for its range of Sicilian cannoli and pastries. Crema, in case you don't know, is what I'm referring to on the top of the coffee. Ros, you've turned me into a bit of a coffee snob. What exactly is crema?
Well, crema is the bittersweet oils that sit on top of the espresso, where all the aroma and the flavour of the coffee is. And if it's extracted properly on a coffee machine, it will foam on top of the coffee. Without that, it's tasteless.
Yeah, I got to say, it's a bit like the Guinness effect to me. It's the bubbles that rise to the top and give it that lovely creamy taste when you actually take your first sip. Now, how did you end up here in Rosario's in Northumberland Place?
Well, my coffee journey started in Sicily as a kid. My father had a cafe there, and I used to get up before school, make coffee, go to school, come back and do the same thing. And when we moved back to England, I just remembered all the skills I'd learnt there, and I actually got my first job at Boston Tea Party back in 1995. And I worked with them for at least 16, 17 years, and then I ended up opening my own cafe here in Northumberland Place.
What is the Sicilian connection?
The Sicilian connection, well, my grandparents moved here in the 60s, and my father moved here in late 60s after an earthquake in our town. We've kind of remained here. We've tried to move back 2 or 3 times, but we've managed to just stay in England.
Your coffee is certainly Italian in flavour, but it's actually locally blended, isn't it?
Yes, it's roasted and blended in Porlock in Somerset by DJ Miles. I've been using DJ Miles for at least 20 or 22 years now, and they do a great job, and they're a really nice independent company to deal with.
That's a good local connection for an international flavour. Now look, you are famous for your range of coffees and your range of food. It's amazing what your kitchen turns out. But if you could name one coffee and one dish that makes Rosario's, what would they be?
Well, obviously the espresso is the thing that we Italians love, and a lot of the Italians and Spanish people in Bath come here for. But the coffee we sell a lot of at the moment is the Rosario, which I call it Rosario, which is a condensed milk with Belgian chocolate, double espresso, and then full milk on top. The youngsters tend to like it more, but people like to try it as a treat.
And what about your dish, your food stuff?
Well, the thing we sell most of, obviously we've got lots of Sicilian specialities here, like arancini, panelle, that we eat a lot of in Sicily. But the one dish that we came up with when we opened 10 years ago is our homemade potato cakes. And then we serve them with poached eggs, avocado, and then with either smoked salmon or parma ham or spinach and mushrooms. They just fly out. We've never been able to take it off the menu.
Like every other trader in the city, and indeed, I suppose, in the world, you've been affected by COVID-19. How are things picking up?
Things are great because we've got a great local following. The Bath people tend to look after the independents, and they do what they can to keep them going. So we're lucky in that respect, and also we're lucky we're in a heritage city with a few, lots of tourists, and the domestic tourists are in Bath at the moment. So they're keeping the economy going here, I think.
The Coeur de Lion is reputedly Bath's smallest pub and an absolute gem. The building's believed to date from 1749. In around 1860, a public house known as the Avondown Stores, presumably because the beer came from the long-closed Avondown Brewery at Bath Easton, was established at number 4 Northumberland Place, and in around 1880 the name of the pub was changed to the Coeur de Lion. Nobody knows the reason for the change, but the name is thought to be unique in the UK. In 1886, the pub moved to its present premises at number 17 Northumberland Place. Many years later, the Devonish Brewery acquired the Coeur. In 1990, Devonish attempted to close the pub, but it was saved and its future as a pub effectively secured when Bath City Council rejected planning permission to turn the pub into a shop. And that followed a major local campaign supported by the then Bath MP Chris Patten. More recently, the pub's been leased by the local Abbey Ales Brewery and forms part of the brewery's estate of pubs across the city centre. One of the most striking features of the pub is its stained glass window, featuring, ironically given the brewery's attempts to close the pub and its own eventual demise, the Devonish Brewery name and crest. Simon, how long have you been landlord here at the Coeur?
So I've been a landlord, well, Abbey Ales, we've taken over the pub. We took the pub over in 2006.
And you've been here all that time?
All that time. Well, basically, I'm more part of the brewery, which is Abbey Ales Brewery, but my father, Alan Morgan, took over the pub and we've gone from there.
And I understand Abbey Ales are possibly the oldest local brewer.
Yes, yeah, we've been going for 23 years now. Yeah, started from the farmhouse pub, just back in the car park, back in the day.
The pub has been here a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It claims to be the smallest pub in Bath.
Yes. Basically, there's 3 pubs, which is the Green Tree, which is in Green Street, and the Volunteer Riflemen's, which is just around the corner from the Coeur de Lion.
I'll let you 3 argue about that. One thing I can tell you is it's my understanding you are the only Coeur de Lion pub in the country.
Well, that's what someone's just told me, yes, which is a very nice thing to know. Which
What?
a bit of publicity on that.
Well, yeah, I would certainly play on that one.
Yes.
What sort of reaction do you get from people when they come in? I mean, it's really a traditional pub, isn't it?
Yes, yes, proper traditional pub. It's disbelief really, because how tiny the place is. It's really, you probably have to budge up on the old seats, and it's very close and cosy.
Not very easy then to get social distancing at the moment, but you've got space outside.
We have got space. We have got all the regulations in place, so we have got a metre apart. But it's very, very hard at the moment. Yes.
What is it about Northumberland Place that makes it so special?
Well, we've got a variety of shops now. You've got Rosario's, which is just next door, coffee shop. You've got the Greek restaurant, which has opened up, which is brilliant, great food, as well as ourselves. And there's a few other shops, got jewelers, and yeah, it's very good. It's a good street.
It's not on the sort of mainstream footpath for tourists. Do you find they're pretty delighted if they chance upon it?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. They enjoy the street. It's a great atmosphere. It's a really nice street.
Has anyone famous ever come and sat in your pub and drunk a pint?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to stop on that one. I'm going to have to make someone up.
No, I don't believe it.
No, who we had? Generally, we have had the Seven Dwarfs, which is funny enough from the pantomime, which used to go on years ago. But apart from that, I haven't seen anyone. But I'm sure there has been. Yeah.
Well, I think that's fantastic that you've had all 7 dwarfs in here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, it's perfect size pub for them.
It is, isn't it? It's a pub for small people.
Yeah.
The coat of arms you can see behind me up on the pediment is a copy of a coat of arms that was going to be attached to the obelisk in Queen Square, erected with public donations raised by Bonash to celebrate a visit to Bath by Prince Frederick, Prince of Wales, in 1738. Now, when I was a mayor's guide, I told everyone Frederick didn't become king. He died aged 44 after a cricket ball hit him in the chest and burst an abscess he didn't know he had. More recently, the belief now is he actually suffered a pulmonary embolism. Whatever it was, it killed him. His son, of course, became George III, famous for two things: losing the American colonies and becoming deranged. My thanks to Simon and Rosario for their help this morning. It was great to come and feature Northumberland Place on Bath on Tap.